A drop deeper in the divine will. A sequel to The Drop Book by 7 Drops, based on the writings of Luisa Piccarreta. Page 29. Look around you. There are literally millions of rounds to be done. Do you see the birds flying? The love God placed in them needs to be recognized and offered back to the Father for His glory. And because Jesus is praying in your prayers with the gift of the divine will, this offering is multiplied over all souls, past, present, and future, as if they all had glorified the Father by returning the love in the birds. Your backyard has enough rounds to fill a book. The rounds of innocent creation are easy. Here is the more difficult rounds. 2 people are walking past your backyard. These 2 people represent potential paradises for God that need to be recovered. What does this mean? There is a good chance they are not fully invested in the divine will, so justice requires the Father be compensated and glorified, as He should have been in them. The question is, where do you start? Each person represents billions of acts done in the human will, and maybe thousands of sins. All the work that God did in Luisa, all the work God is doing to purify you, needs to be done in these 2 souls. God should be able to enjoy walking in the paradise of their souls. Instead, Jesus is suffering the agony in the garden in each. Here is the incredible part. With the gift of the divine will, your rounds are Jesus' rounds. As He speaks in your voice, His word is creative. He can reverse the ravages of sin and create a paradise in the 2 souls. He can take out gossip, pride, and darkness and put in love, humility, light, and all the other divine qualities. The angels are at His command, and you are in unity with Him as He prays. And because it is a divine prayer, when it is said for these 2 souls, it is multiplied over all souls, past, present, and future. Of course, each soul has the free will to respond to the grace or light carried to them by the angels. They can still choose to gossip and be prideful and reject the grace to love and be humble. But some will respond and be that much closer to becoming a paradise for God. Think of everything that needs to be done in you to make a paradise for God, and you have some idea of what needs to be done in all souls. Each soul needs to be ground in the grinder. The rounds are needed to take the world, devil, and flesh out of every soul. The least sin will not be tolerated. Even human virtues fall short. God made us to share in His divine qualities, His divine life, His divinity. At the same time, the Father requires holiness. He also wants to be surrounded by the things of His kingdom in every soul. The rounds have the divine power to bring to light in every soul God's throne, His choir of angels, all of heaven, the acts of Jesus' life and passion, the divine acts of His blessed mother, the works of the saints, the love of the animals, the acts of all souls brought into the divine will, and all His creation. For the good souls who do not respond to the rounds done by those living in the divine will, the work begun in them here on earth may be continued in the 3 levels of purgatory, but God will have the benefit of His creation in everyone. He will have what He has in His Son, in His saints, either in souls while they are on earth or eventually in heaven. Some of the souls who respond to grace may even receive the gift of the divine will while on earth. Luisa once prayed that all souls born on a certain day receive the gift of the divine will. Because of this round, every baby born on that day was given the opportunity, at some point during its lifetime, to accept the gift of living in the divine will. Most certainly, some responded and became part of the hidden army, quietly doing acts and rounds to accomplish God's plan. For the souls who are lost because they do not respond to grace and choose hell, in some mysterious way, God receives the glory he deserves from these souls. All the acts created by the Father, acts that lost soul should have possessed with the gift, but instead left suspended, have been taken in rounds by Jesus, the Blessed Mother, and Luisa, and given to the Father for his glory. These rounds continue in those living in the divine will. Why should we continually repeat the rounds of creation, the Passion, and others? Isn't it enough to say them once if they multiply over all souls and all ages? Well, would you tell your parents once, "I love you," and never repeat those words to them again? In the same way, the Father deserves our continuous love. The rounds go beyond the created universe to the uncreated. Do you realize, had man not fallen into sin, all souls would have been taking part in God's own divine activity. We would have been directing the angels, helping to maintain the planets, creating new universes. Not that God needs the help, but he created us to do things with him, to share in his divinity. All souls would even have taken part in the activity of God we don't fully understand. We would have been right in the middle of the divine possession with the Father, eternally, the divine procession with the Father eternally generating the Son. We would have participated in the outpouring of love between the Father and Son from which the Holy Spirit proceeds. Jesus told Luisa that the level of the sons and daughters of the divine will in heaven correspond with the 9 levels of the choirs of angels. The seraphic level of the souls in the divine will in heaven are the ones who did rounds on earth, moving into the very activity of God. They made the sun shine with God. They directed angels to distribute graces. They entered into people during healing services with the Holy Spirit and healed them, slew them in the Spirit, and made them prophesy. They even kept God company when he did those things that are sad for God to do, like send chastisements or allow a soul to choose hell. God especially appreciates company in these difficult jobs, difficult only because he loves every soul so much. All the volumes of Luisa, the Hours of the Passion, the Virgin Mary in the Kingdom of the Divine Will, and Luisa's letters explain in detail the hidden life of Jesus, where his every breath was to restore the kingdom so the Father would be fully glorified. This is the hidden life he wants to continue with our lives in the divine will. We can be living hosts in which Jesus can act. Even the Blessed Mother no longer has this conquering act. This act is reserved for those on earth who can still exercise their free will and make the choice between human or divine acts. There can be no greater love that you can give Jesus than to lay down your life and allow yourself to be transformed into another Jesus here on earth. And as Jesus establishes his kingdom in the individual souls of the sons and daughters of the divine will, the kingdom will pour out over all of God's creation. Luisa described a vision that Jesus gave her. He made me see 2 sets of high stairs, from the earth to heaven. On one there were more people, on the other there were very few. The one that had few people was of solid gold, and those few that were ascending seemed to be other Jesuses. So each one of them was a Jesus. The other stairs, where there were many people, seemed to be of wood, and the people who were there could be distinguished. Almost all of them were lowly and without a great development. And Jesus said to me, "My daughter, on the stairs of gold, ascend those who make their life in my life. So I can say, they are my feet, my hands, my heart, all of myself, just like you see that they are another me. They are completely for me, and I am their life. Their actions are all of gold and of incalculable value, because they are divine. No one could ever reach their height, because they are hidden in me. Only in heaven will one have a perfect knowledge of them." On the wooden stairs, in which there are more people, are the souls that walk from the road for the road of virtue, but not with the union of my life and with the continual connection of my will. Their actions are of wood, because only the union with me forms the actions of gold. Therefore their actions are of minimal value. They are short in height, almost feeble, because they mix many human purposes in their good actions, and the human purposes do not give growth. They are known by everyone because they are not hidden in me, but in themselves. Therefore no one covers them. They will not make any surprise to heaven, because they were known even on earth. Therefore, daughter, I want you completely in my life, not in yours. And I recommend to you those who you know and see, that they maintain themselves strong and constant on the stairs of my life.